This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
This is my island in the sun, where my people have toiled since time begun. I may sail on many a sea, the shores will always be a home to me. Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hands, all my days I will sing and praise of your forest.
Good yawning this morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, your station for fresh news, smart talk all day. It is Thursday, the 12th of January, 2023, and you are on the clock with Erin, Greene. And on the clock, we have conversations that help us understand and navigate a rapidly changing Bahamas. It's a Thursday. That means it's Culture Thursday. We started off the show with My Island in the Sun by Pat Roll. One of the listeners last week told me I got to feature Pat Roll on my list of top 50 Bahamian artists. And My Island in the Sun, I think, is the song that should be on the commemorative 50th anniversary independence album. I love it. I love it. I also wanted to play that song this morning in tribute to Reverend C.B. Moss. I want to thank Papa for calling yesterday mid-show to remind us, to create a space for us to all hold C.B. Moss in prayer. And when I was listening to that song last night, that's what I thought about. It's a man of stature. You hear that voice and you think of a giant of a man. And when you hear the name C.B. Moss, you think of a giant of a man. And so our prayers are with him and his family for his speedy recovery. Good morning. And welcome back to Guardian. So it's a Culture Thursday. We're going to do Culture Thursday a bit differently today because there's just been so much in the news that we haven't been able to get to. And there are four things that I want to talk about today. I don't want to call it an open line. Let me tell you what I want to talk about, right? So there have been a couple of stories in the media. First, Bahamas warning of U.S. airspace ban. That's an article from the Nassau Tribune. Another headline from The Guardian. Cooper confident airspace issue will be amicably resolved. Today we're going to look at a couple more articles following that story. Another story I was paying attention to was the Onega Traveler spill. We've had a marine accident, a vessel carrying agricultural products sank in the Abacos, and it's a bit of a big story. I know the people in Abaco are very concerned, and I got a couple of articles. Fears over slow response to ship sinking. That's Nassau Tribune. Fishermen urge spare no expense on sunken vessel. I think that's an important story as well. And then on the front of today's Tribune business section, Bahamas to U.S. airlines respect our sovereignty and Bahamian charters fear of devastating impact. Those are two articles that are addressing this U.S. airspace ban, potential for airspace ban. But that's not the story. The story is this. Sooner the better over BPL base rate increase. I want to talk about that as well. And then before we get there, I'm going to start with the headline in The Guardian. CJ, it's a quote, attacks on the courts are unhelpful. The Chief Justice says attacks on the courts are unhelpful. So the numbers to call, 323-6232. That's 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4316, and 325-4259. It appears we may be having an issue with some of the telephone lines, so I'm going to beg the listeners, if you're trying to call in, keep trying, and I would start with 323-6232. That's 323-6232. But if you can't get through on the telephone line, please text the show. The text line is 422-GR96. That's 422-4796. Standard text rates apply, and the text line is powered by BTC. Text line is powered by BTC. I had a number of audience members reach out to me yesterday indicating that they were trying to get through on the phone line, but there seemed to have been an issue. All right, I got a text here. Producer, the texter say, play some Pat Ramming, please. First of all, I need you all to know that Pat Ramming is on my list. I wanted a song yesterday to play in tribute of Dame Marguerite Pinlan. But I couldn't find one in time. And I want to know if Pat Ramming could make me one song. Play the song, I think, Baintown Woman. When you get a chance, we can play Baintown Woman. See, a song like that have to go on the Independence Anniversary album, right? All of the songs are talking about, is it Baintown Woman, Grantstown Woman? I think it's even a song about Long Island Woman, and maybe a song about Bimini Woman. I don't think anybody write any song about Mayagwana Woman yet. But these are the stories of our lives. These are the songs that help us understand each other and why do we behave the way we do. And they're also very important. But let's get to this first headline. CJ says attacks on the courts are unhelpful. So Ian says many reasons for trial delays. And the article starts, while acknowledging that criminal trials are now taking longer than they used to, Chief Justice Sir Ian Winder yesterday dismissed, quote, unquote, attacks on the judiciary, adding that there are many reasons beyond the control of judges that lead to the delays plaguing the court system. He goes on, it is unhelpful to attack the judiciary and suggest that the courts are responsible for all that ails the criminal justice system or that we are not completing trials, said Sir Ian during the opening of the legal year, held at The Point in downtown Nassau because the main Supreme Court building is under renovations still. He continued, not only is the suggestion wholly inaccurate, it ignores the known realities in the criminal courts and in our country. The Chief Justice said a considerable amount of nollies have been entered by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions in 2022. Most of those have been entered after the trials had begun or on the morning when a trial was to commence, often causing considerable loss of court days, he said. So Ian added, judges do not live in ivory towers or hold cloistered views of the country we live in. Well, to the judicial community, please do not take this as an attack, because sometimes in this town and within the current political culture, every single form of critique is labeled an attack, an unwarranted and unjustified attack. While the Chief Justice's commentary is not wrong, I think it's dismissive and possibly obfuscates. It confuses the situation. I am 46 years old. We've had a backlog in the judiciary for most of my life. In the same way that we've been living in an energy crisis with a broken BPL for most of my life. These systems are so broken that you cannot even determine or are unwilling to determine the extent to which they are dysfunctional. They have moved from the standard. It is not unreasonable, and it is not an attack on the judiciary to say that the judiciary is in a horrible state. I mean, the writer expresses it so well when she says, during the opening of the legal year, held at the point. You hear me? Held at the point in downtown Nassau, because the main Supreme Court building is under renovations. I don't know if I have to give you my opinion on hosting significant national events at tourism venues. I think we already understand how far from the center we are. But the judiciary is broken. It has fallen apart. It is dysfunctional. Justice delayed is justice denied. People's lives have been irrevocably devastated because of a dysfunction in the processes of justice in the country, because of broken courts. Women have been waiting for child support payments for months and months and months and months. People waiting for judgments for years. It is not an attack on the judiciary to point out its deficiencies and demand reform for the sake of the people that you serve. Not for its members, not for the members of the judiciary, not for the people that get to eat 10 meats, get fancy plates, can park where they want, special dispensations. We even have rules in the country about how we can talk about what you do. That's how special you are. But not for your own sake. For the sake of the people who rely on you. For the sake of the people that we discourage from resorting to vigilante justice when every other system has failed them. If you want us to take you seriously, you must first take yourself seriously. We know that you are limited in your engagement in the ways that you can act. We know that you are limited in the ways that you can speak, what it is that you can say, how you can address issues. But at the very least, be honest with us. Do us that favor and encourage your members to do all that they must to repair this broken justice system. I see we got a call on the line, producer. Now, people is talking this morning. I heard plenty conversation about marital rape. I was wondering what y'all was talking about, why y'all was talking about that. We can get to that in a second. Good morning, caller.
Godly day is talking away so long with you, Erin.
Good morning, Brayman. How you doing?
Oh, boy, we need justice, law, and order in this country.
Yes, we do.
I heard Mr. Parker was responsible for the Bar Association, right?
Yes.
Was on your radio, right? Mm-hmm. Talking great about the lawyers. But the thing is, I had an immature situation done to me, and I put the guy to the Bar Association from that time, and I can't get a result yet.
Oh, boy.
I don't know what they're talking about, what they're carrying on with. They carrying on as if this country is only for the lawyers. Don't care what kind of nastiness the lawyers does. And that ain't nice. And people going to get tired. And situations going to happen.
Absolutely.
Because they're hiding people. And they carrying on like they don't hide people. They don't care about people.
Thank you, Brayman.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's an emotive critique, but it's not far off. This is another element of the judiciary that also should be addressed. We almost have more lawyers. Do we have more lawyers than doctors? We get plenty lawyers in this town. And for years, even a couple of decades, I have cried out that how could we have so many lawyers in this town, but the state of the judiciary is what it is? How could we have so many lawyers in this town, but so many people are struggling with conflict and issues? How we have so many lawyers in this town, but there's so little application, pardon me, so little application of legal theory. We're not teaching the people anything. I come to you right now, caller, again. You want us to treat you as special, to regard your stature, but you first must realize that you too are special and what your role is, and that your specialness is because of the people you're supposed to be serving. Good morning, caller. You're on the clock.
Well, good morning, Erin.
Good morning. How you do?
Brayman may be right. The nation might be for the lawyers. Now, how I become one of them King's Counsel? Because look like they doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Orlin Bodie told me once, he said that most of the lawyers are broke in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a lawyer, one of the best. So Brayman say the people can get tired. Well, when they can get tired, Erin, because you and I, we've been watching it for about 40 years now. I see too much tired. But I can ask you one question.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with PLP or F&M.
Mm-hmm.
It's talking about government.
Mm-hmm.
I asked a man from another radio talk show. I asked him this question,
Mm-hmm.
I guess about 10 years ago. Can you tell me which government organization is working to at least 50% capacity?
Oh, boy.
And he had to think for a very long time. And he came back. This is a senior radio man who owns a station.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, the Ministry of Youth. And I said, no, sir. The young men are hungry and angry and sitting on the wall looking for employment.
Mm-hmm.
And not just a job. We want ownership. See, we've come to the promised land. And it's time for young people to go over. But some of the older people, they didn't make it. Remember?
Yeah.
God didn't allow them to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's time for some new, younger leadership to make it over there to Jordan. I don't know. But I know one thing. It's not the people working in the government organization. It's the people in charge. If your guardian is not working properly, I don't blame you. I blame the big man sitting upstairs.
I get
because
you.
he should remove you. So you name me or have anyone call in and tell me what's working to at least 50%. And if that's true, then we're a failed state.
I got you.
And we need to identify and move on and correct. Now I got to go buy me one truck because these roads getting bad, girl.
You need a helicopter. Listen, Graham, you made a good inquiry and a great point. You know, which ministries are operating at 50% capacity as a very important assessment to make. And then you made another good point, which is it's very rarely the workers, it's the management, right? In all of these critiques, I think what's important is to acknowledge the wealth of resources that we have in country, and that it is most likely that their inability to perform is due to a lack of proper management and organization within their particular spaces and intersecting their particular spaces, right? We have got the brains here. We've got it. We got some of the smartest people in the world here, born here, bred here, trained here, developed their intellectual acumen here. We got them. We seem to be unable to manage them properly. I think that's what's going on. And the most important point is this, is that if we could get the management under control, then we would really be on the cutting edge. We would really be moving at the pace of the world. We would really be a pace setter. Not just moving at the pace of the world, but setting the pace of thought development. All right, I got a text here that says, play No Slapping Up. I don't know if the people on Guardian Radio are ready for that song. I don't know. But I do have to do a segment with newer music. I mean, for the most of the show, I've focused on these genres that are definitely traditional Bahamian music, right? But I don't want to leave out younger Bahamians. Another text, the caller Brayman is correct. Me too. I had the same experience. You know, a similar conversation with the Towing and Salvage Association members, leadership yesterday. They are in the process of, they are building an association. They've already started it. They're setting rates, but they're also setting standards, right? And they're trying to create an industry space that is operating according to the region or the hemisphere or global standards. And they're learning that they got to police themselves. Even when there is legislation governing the industry, they also have to police themselves. And this is something that the Bar Association should understand and should know. And I suggest that they have a duty to the general public, to police their members, to protect the public from unscrupulous, nefarious, and corrupt actors. I suggest that that's your obligation. You don't just do it to protect your own integrity as a local practitioner. You do it to protect the community, the constituency, the categories of people you're supposed to be serving. That's why you do it. All right, I get... so that was one thing I wanted to talk about. Now I see there's some headlines. In fact, on the bottom fold of the Tribune, we need a new court complex, right? Chief Justice Ian Winder has reignited calls for the construction of a new modern court complex, saying the time for a complete judicial complex has long passed, as current facilities are ill-suited and in a state of disrepair. Imagine, but I'm going to be honest with you, I think that we should build a new prison before we build a new court complex. First of all, because y'all had plenty time to build a new court complex. Instead, y'all entertain privy councillors with 10 meets and such. But imagine that people who are on remand, who have not been committed of a crime, are in a facility that is so heinous that almost the whole Bahamas said, look here, as a matter of national security and interest, just let these boy extradite SBF and get him out of here because we don't want to risk anything happening to him in our prison. Right? We got to fix the prison first. Texas says, I'm not certain what the central point of the CJ's remarks are, but this is no time to be defensive. We should focus on how we are going to fix the problems. Now, dear Texas, I don't know who you are, so when you say we, you mean them, right? That's what you mean, right? I mean, I'm not being rude or facetious. It's not an attack on you, Texter. because a bunch of us out here have been focused on it, and we've been giving suggestions to the government, and we've been making public commentary and critique. Some people have even formed organizations, and they're partnering with global actors to bring models to the attention of local stakeholders. Right? We are doing things. The question is, when will the political class step up to the plate and do what they know they ought to do, and do it when they know they ought to do it? Which brings me to second story on the list in the Tribune business section. Sooner the better over BPL base rate increase. Bahamas Power and Light's chief executive yesterday warned the utilities base tariff rate must ultimately increase to offset diminished returns, adding the sooner the better. So hold on. The base rate must increase to offset diminished returns. So what was the fuel surcharge increase about? We got like 2 years of inflated bills. And despite the indication in writing that eventually the price will go back down, I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. Tell me you think gas is going to drop below $5 a gallon ever again in your lifetime? You think it will? And even if we had legislation in place, you think that would happen? You think so? I am offended. I mean, I'm flabbergasted. Similarly, like in a similar way that Michael Pintard, the Honorable Pintard, leader of the loyal opposition, was flabbergasted. Flabbergasted, he said, by IRCA's approval or IRCA's statements around the BPL fuel surcharge increase. Especially for me, I could see why he was flabbergasted, because BPL and IRCA announced that they were going to review the increase proposal after the government already indicated that they have implemented the increase, and you will see charges on your next bill. It's kind of flabbergasted like that. Producer, we can go to the call at any time. Good morning, caller.
Erin, my apologies, but I had to call you back on that energy.
Yeah.
And the fuel in the car. Because if the light bill goes up and the gas bill goes up, everything from Hellman's to hair goes up.
Yeah.
And this is why for 25 years I've been crying in the wilderness about renewable energy. Not because of the clean, green, and carbon credits that we would receive, of course, but because of the misery and suffering that's about to happen when energy and fuel go up. We've needed an energy czar, that's CZAR, Russian word, someone to make sure. And you hit the nail on the head with the fuel surcharge. Your contract is for electricity, not for fuel, is it?
Boy, let's not go there, Grandma. Listen.
So you need a class action lawsuit. You should head it up. But we don't hate anybody working out at the power company.
No, of course not.
We actually are upset with the people who control them. You see, it all comes back to management. And so what is about to happen here is so sad, because putting 5 solar panels, tiny little, we know what they look like now, finally, putting 5 little solar panels on every rooftop that could support it would pretty much eliminate.
I got you, Graham, but we got a big problem. The problem is this. This is a legacy problem. This is a huge problem. Let me tell you what the problem is. I think that BPL and the government, more importantly, cannot allow consumers to transition from BPL to a private power production through alternate energy. Because if they do, BPL will collapse.
You're so correct, because I have an article from the newspaper right there.
Yeah.
I have an article, 2014, the chairman of BPL, a very good man, the Honorable Leslie Miller, saying that we cannot afford for the big businesses, the rich people, them, to switch to solar, because they're the ones paying the big bills that I suspect buy the fuel that keeps everything else running. But we're going to see. The dominoes are about to fall, and it's so sad. I don't know if it's a bit too late to even do something. Should
I
have
thought
been
you
done
said.
20 years ago. But we'll talk later.
Yes, sir, but it's a continuous talk. We are in the midst of an energy crisis, and we can't stop talking about it.
And you will not have a country without energy security, reliability, affordability, and sustainability. And that's the bottom line. You don't have to worry about anything else because you won't have a radio. It uses electricity.
No, my Graham.
I won't have a cell phone because it uses electricity. Well, I will because we should have all had solar by now.
I got
Let's
you.
fix the Bahamas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I want the anyway. See, there are a couple of indicators. That's the indicator right there. We got to go to a break. That's the song. Thank you, producer, and thank you to the texter. Fox Hill Gal? No, this ain't Fox Hill Gal. Yeah, this Baintown woman. And then somebody say play Fox Hill Gal. Listen, somebody need to write a tribute to Marguerite Pendleton right now. Make it sound like one of these. She's a real Bahamian woman. Anyway, we got to go to a break. Thank you, producer. We'll be back. You guys stay tuned. Caller, stay on the line. You're on the clock.
Doing a barroom fight. You better run. Corporal Turner, run, run, run. Send for the man of war. Tell them bring their gun. People used to say Jack Turner don't play. He break your head for fun. But when Baintown woman catch a fire, even the devil run. Here we go.
J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents are the best. Reliable service, we've been on the scene, protecting since 1919. J.S. Johnson Insurance has the test. You're always covered me. J.S. Johnson Insurance, peace of mind.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The new Guardian Radio app is here. Listen live to all our Guardian Radio shows and live video stream select programs in our studio. Get information about Guardian Radio shows and our hosts. Send messages including text, email, and even call. All from our amazing new Guardian Radio app. Download it free today in your App Store for your Apple device or Play Store for your Android device. The all-new and improved Guardian Radio app.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
She's the one who gave everything. I want me a foxy, yeah.
Good morning and welcome back to On the Clock. Let's get to this caller right away. Good morning, caller.
A pleasure. Good morning, Miss Greene.
Morning, Bremen. Hi, Sparky, how you do? You know,
Yeah, that's my cousin. You just finished taking them for us, Eric Mins. That's my first cousin by blood on my mom's side.
Okay, that's why you was a musical man.
Yeah, but you know, Foxville Gal was all about my Aunt Esther, his mother.
Okay.
Up in Foxville, they still call her Miss Tech. Her name is Esther Mins. Was the mother of Eric Mins. He moved to Canada around about 17 years old. He was the actor with Mumsy Pierce to the Montague Beach Hotel.
Okay.
They used to have a comedian skip up there. And he met some Canadians, and they invited him to come to Canada. And he's been up there ever since. He writes songs. He comes down here. God bless him. He died last year sometime from cancer.
Yeah.
He had a home right in downtown Norwich. He used to come down here with his lovely wife twice a year. He'd write songs, and then he'd give them to King Eric to produce.
Yeah, I worked a rum festival in Bahamas one year and had the fortune of having our booth right next to his, man. It was just a whole weekend of history, music history.
Yeah. And the road, what they call now, they call it Frank Edgecombe Road, up in Fox Hill.
Yeah.
The PLB named it Frank Edgecombe after Julian Edgecombe, them daddy.
Uh-huh.
That road through there, it was where Aunt Esther used to live.
Okay.
There was a little track road. My mother used to take us up there every Sunday. You know, an old track road where you see the grass road in the middle and the two pieces on the side with the car wheels, right?
Yeah.
Round, but maybe 200-300 up in the back there. She used to have this yard with all kind of plums, just like you like it. Plums and gooseberries, you name it. Never was ever paved on that. You walk across these rocks.
Yeah.
And then she had this hut up in the back there with the kerosene lamp. And she always used to ride this bicycle with the little basket in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody up in Foxville used to call her Esther Tech.
Okay.
Because she met with gentlemen up in Foxville, and I hear they used to bib a lot. And his name was Mr. Tech.
Ah,
so they used to call her Esther Tech.
I got you.
So that's why he wrote that song in honor of his mother, Esther Tech.
Look here,
So that went in my family too. That and come to the shop.
Yes, man. Thank you, Sparky.
But you know,
but Sparky, I gotta go, man. I have more rowing I gotta do.
Yeah, I know the route, but I was trying to get at the thing with the solar panel and everything.
I got you. Go on.
The solar panel, with what Graham always talk about. The point is, I've been checking on them, but they're so expensive, the average person can't afford them.
You gotta work in groups. You ever heard about this thing called the cooperative?
Yeah, but okay, I can't go to the bank to borrow money. They ain't gonna give me a loan.
That's okay. That's why you gotta.
How I can get the solar panel on my roof? It looks like the solar panel only made for businesses and the rich elite.
No, man, Sparky. There are tons of options.
Will always be here with this light bill.
Sparky, I gotta go because you and Graham working together for me to have Graham on my show
give me no break.
to tell Bahamians how they could manage this journey to solar affordably, right? First of all, you got to find out how to form a cooperative. And then you got to figure out who you want to be in your cooperative with you. And then you use the cooperative structure to purchase the solar panels to save money. That's one of the options that are available to you. But Sparky, that story, you got to write that. In fact, producer, let's make sure we record that here. We got to figure out how to document that story and more stories like it. Fox Hill gal. You know how much man them out there want a Fox Hill gal when they get married? Because they got good sense. Anyway, got a little bit more news to get to. There was a bad accident apparently on Shirley and one of the Dowswell Street accesses. You know where they put that new building? It's just recent construction. And they built a curb. They built a curb taking you in the corner from Shirley to Dowswell Street. It would be not the St. Matthew's access to Dowswell Street, but the immediate next one. And yeah, I don't know. I don't. The next entrance, right? Access to Dowswell. I don't know why y'all put that curb there. That doesn't really make any sense. I don't know how town planning let y'all build that building like that. It is not making any sense. I don't know why someone would expect to park in the front of the building right there, and then how are they going to get back on to Shirley Street or to Dowswell Street? How? Anyway, that's an aside. I wanted to talk. But I want to talk about a migrant crisis, ? But I got a text here. Graham suggested that none of our ministries are functioning at or above 50%. We need to stop demeaning ourselves by making such statements. What we say about others could easily apply to us. Okay, texter, I feel you. Certainly we should not be demeaning ourselves. Let's talk about it for a second. I too believe that virtually none of our ministries are operating at or above 50%. I think that like the financial services sector, they're working. They're working. The commercial legal sector, they're working. Are they functioning at 50% or above? I do not think so. Could they continue to excel if they were able to function at 50% or above, yes. Yes. When I was in high school, my father had passed, my uncle Stephen Mitchell, Daddy-O, big tower of a man. Report card day, like the weekend after report card day. Daddy-O asked me what I did, what your report card looked like. So I tell him, look here, I got an A in math. That's my favorite subject. That's what I was good at. I got an A in math. He said, let me see the report card. He looked at the report card. He said, yeah, okay then. And he sucked his teeth. You still get a C for effort. So I said, but I got an A for achievement. He said, but imagine what you could have done if you got an A for effort. Don't matter that you got 100% achievement. Don't matter that you got an A for achievement. Imagine how much better you would have performed if you put in the effort. So we're not demeaning ourselves. We're critically addressing the management crises that we have in this country. And we surely do have a management crisis. Thank you, Tex. You take me right back to the thing I wanted to talk about. Saw 2 videos this weekend over the holiday, the majority rule holiday. Videos, one from Abaco documenting expanding unregulated construction, and a video from Harbor Island documenting what appeared to be a top tent town. Now I say appeared to be because I only saw a couple of structures, but obvious evidence of people living or dumping in the bush, quote unquote, in Harbor Island. Now I ask the question, like I said again, is this really a migrant crisis? I don't think it's a migrant crisis. Let me tell you why. Because I think virtually all of the migrants on the family islands are waiting. They waiting for somebody. So the question is, who are they waiting for? Are they waiting for Bahamians, Bahamians of Haitian descent, second homeowners, foreign direct investors, or are they waiting for non-Haitian, non-nationals? Right? Who's living in these unregulated structures? Are they Bahamians? Are they stateless Bahamians? Like Bahamians in waiting? Are they documented migrants? Are they undocumented migrants? And if they're documented migrants, who is responsible for housing documented migrants? Is it not their employer? And is not the government supposed to inspect and ensure that all documented migrants are being have accessed state-approved housing? See, I'm going to argue we got plenty of crises, but this isn't a migrant crisis. And the reason why we can't get a handle of it is because we keep looking at a migrant crisis, the thing that we cannot solve. See, the migrant crisis is caused by greater global dynamics that me and you and the honorable, the most honorable Dr. Sir Philip Brave Davis, none of us could solve it. This bigger than Haiti. See what I'm saying? But we have some crises that we can solve, that we could focus on. See, from watching those 2 videos, I can tell you right away, we have a housing crisis. There's insufficient housing inventory on outer islands, particularly Abaco, given the amount of work that needs to take place in Abaco for its continued development. Is the housing available on any of these islands sufficient for the pace of development and construction on the island and being encouraged on the island? How are you inviting foreign investors to your country to build things and you don't have a local labor force to pull from? Where are they going to come? Who is going to attract millions of dollars to the country and then sit there and say, oh, well, ain't nobody to do the work? We got a housing crisis. Here's another thing. Do we need a moratorium on Airbnbs on the outer islands in New Providence? Are hardworking Bahamians being left unhoused because housing inventory that should be available to them is being prioritized for Airbnbs and for tourists? Now, we definitely got an environmental crisis. You just can't go set up house in the bush. There are no environmental impact assessments. Do you know that after Hurricane Dorian, Abaco may or may not have lost several very special, like indigenous to the Bahamas bird species? You can't just have people living in the bush catching birds, catching animals in the bush. They could be disturbing local flora, fauna, and various ecosystems. There's contamination of water supplies. Then there's the issue of trash and waste management. And then we get another thing for Harbor Island, only as big as this studio. How is this happening? See, we have a systems crisis. See it in the story about BPL. See it in the story about the judiciary. We have a systems crisis. Is anyone monitoring and documenting the movement of people to and from and through outer islands and the country at large? What about Abaco? Isn't Abaco supposed to be a special test case? Shouldn't we have implemented special procedures for immigration and the labor departments so that they can monitor the movement of people in and out and through Abaco, so they could make a clear and concise determination of the labor needs in Abaco? So they could make assessments that can be used to determine the percentage of foreign workers that need to be brought into a project? Why everybody want A+ pay, but they only deliver in D- systems? And it's regular, ordinary people relying on you to do your job. Thank you, Texter. That story Sparky told was just beautiful, man. We have to document that. I don't want people to think that I just let the migrants overrun the place. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we will not solve the problem until we properly identify what the problem is. And the problem can't be the migrants coming here because somebody wants them here. Somebody is paying them to do the work, and they are doing the work. The question is, why are we not being honest about what's happening? Why are we not identifying collapsing systems and diverting the necessary resources to them to fix them? These are the most important parts. We can continue talking about it, but I got this to say. Can't you use the same technology you use to detect cannabis in the bush to detect unregulated Can't you? Anyway, private citizens could set up a drone patrol. Private citizens can't just interact with people. I'm not encouraging anybody to go interact with undocumented migrants. But private citizens can start drone patrols. That's what you could do. You got the power. Let's use it to help each other. Producer, I see that light flashing, but we out of time, right? Oh, okay, caller, you got 30 seconds. How you doing?
Hey, Erin, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Great. Just one question I have for you. Cut it very short.
Yeah.
What, is there any idea what is the moratorium on work permits for this country as it pertains to nationalities or just the work, the work the actual work in the country that people feel that Bahamians can't or refuse to do? What is the moratorium on the work permits? Thanks.
I got you. Listen, I'm going to go and do that research because I didn't think there was a moratorium on work permits, especially after the Commercial Enterprise Act. But I'm going to look that up. I don't think there's a restriction on nationality.
If you'd like to make a call.
Right? I don't think anybody's saying Okay, listen, if you're Haitian or if you're Russian, you just don't apply, or there's a limit. We only have 17 jobs available for those nationalities. I think it's work related, right? Like the type of job versus the nationality of the person. Last text before I go. Many Bahamians make a living when you know a significant portion of your citizens have nowhere to sleep. That makes no sense. You was on the clock. Now we off the clock. It's time for Guardian Radio AM with Cecil Nuri. I gotta go. Thank you, Sparky. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Brayman. Thank you, Texas. Have a great day.